Hello, everybody, and welcome to Questions, Comments, and Concerns. Today, I am here with my co-host and my best friend, Miss
Nia. Okay.
Alright.
I know. Clap for me.
Today, we are going to be talking about fast fashion.
That did not work out.
Who cares? Fast fashion sucks, y'all, so it doesn't deserve any hype.
Well, today we are going to be talking about fast fashion and its effect on our economy. Well, not economy. Oopsies.
Well, yeah, kind of our economy, but also our environment, mostly.
Mostly our environment.
Well, it has to be our environment. We want to get a good grade on this, y'all, so.
Please, Blake, give us a good grade.
F in the chat for me, please. All right.
Okay. So, fast fashion. What is fast fashion? You may be asking.
The best summary that I could give for fast fashion is just like cheap, objectively poorly made clothes that you can buy in bulk online. So think stuff like Shein,
Zara,
Forever 21,
H&M,
Zulily, like
stuff like that.
Yeah, like anything you can get off of the internet that's like cheap, quick, easy, convenient.
Free shipping.
Yes, free returns.
And everything like that.
But the more that you start to delve into these like giant fast fashion corporations, the more you start to realize like, holy crap, this is awful. Like, for not only for our environment,
but for the people working there,
exactly.
For our, literally for thrift stores, for us personally.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be affected by this one day, so we should probably make a change.
If you don't want the earth to burn in 20 years, then like listen to our podcast. But basically, what we're here to talk about today is fast fashion, why it's bad, blah blah blah. But I'd say like the first point of why fast fashion is bad is just like, so I'm sure like 80% of y'all right now are wearing a t-shirt or some sort of shirt. Now, think about that shirt and where it comes from.
Like, really actually think hard. I don't care if your mom bought it for you. Look at the tag right now. And, like, it could say something like, from Forever 21, from Shein, from H&M.
No, but we don't mean that. We mean, like, where is it from? Is it from China? Is it from Vietnam? Is it from Guatemala?
Where was it made? What
is it
factory?
From your grandma's house? Where is it from?
And down.
Yes. So, depending on where it is from, it's obviously had to come from somewhere. And there are so many factors that play into just making one thing, like transportation and the insane amount of CO2 emissions that comes from transporting one thing. Like, we have cargo ships, cargo planes, big boats, trucks. Yeah.
Like, ginormous trucks. Seriously. This stuff is, like, going all around the world, like, once or twice or 3 times. So, we already have seen that from, our project on industrialization and where our stuff comes from. But how does that relate to fast fashion and places like Shein and Forever 21?
Well, fast fashion and places like that, they deliver to everybody. You just click like, oh yeah, I want this sweater in my cart. Click it, boom, it shows up in my house next day, $15.
But you don't think about that. You don't think what happened to get there. So how big the water use was for that.
So much water. Oh my god, it takes like, imagine how many gallons it takes to make one t-shirt.
Remember when we watched that t-shirt video on what it takes to like make one t-shirt?
If you're over the age of like 13, then you don't know what we're talking about, but sorry if you don't.
But, okay, if you were in Miss Bullard's 4th period social studies...
Shout out to Miss Bullard, whoa.
Then you would know how much water and gallons that it takes to make one t-shirt. Now, this water usage is really bad, especially for how many items there are. If one t-shirt has, like, 50 gallons of water made, how about that, like, 20 that you're putting in your cart because it's so cheap and cheaply made? Mm-hmm. So that brings us to waste of clothing.
Yeah. Not only are these clothes incredibly affordable, but they are very convenient, which makes it easy to buy them in bulk. Mm-hmm. And all of these sort of like companies, like Shein, Zara, etc., all these ones that we mentioned earlier, they're all being promoted on very large social media platforms as being very trendy and cool.
With the trends, kids.
With the times, being all hip and whatever. Hip people don't say hip, kids. That just,
okay.
But whatever, that's not the point. The point is that these clothes are seen as very trendy. So for like whatever is popular in the span of 3 months, like summer type clothes, like Y2K or any sort of aesthetic
that 90s aesthetic.
Any aesthetic that you want, you can get on these sites. But what happens when all of a sudden someone just declares that this isn't cool anymore? Well, your average, 15-year-old girl...
Your average Joe.
Yes, they're just going to want to throw these clothes away. But what happens to these things when they get thrown away?
You're like, okay, I'll just, actually, I know that throwing this away is really bad for the environment. It'll end up in landfills. I'm just going to put it in a thrift store.
Mm-hmm.
Going to donate it to Goodwill. Actually, honey, that's not any better.
Mm-mm.
So, almost a lot of the stuff that gets donated to Goodwill kind of gets thrown away because, it's really cheaply made. It's not good to put on the store shelves. And it goes along with the toxic dyes and stuff like that. And when you do look through thrift stores, it's overrun by places like Shein and Forever 21 because people mass donated. Like, oh my god, I don't want to hurt the environment. Let me just donate it. And most people don't want to get toxic dyes into their body, so they're not going to buy it. And it's going to get thrown away because it's so old.
If you don't hear from us in the next 4 days, Goodwill sent someone to kill us. So just look out for us. Sorry, Goodwill. But basically, yeah, what Nia was saying is that people are essentially just wasting clothes. I mean, there was a study shown that people are buying twice the clothes and only wearing them for half as long, which is a large issue.
I mean, all these, it goes into, micro trends and stuff like that. What was popular, 2 years ago, which, in the 80s or in the 90s, used to be, a 10-year decade type of fashion. It's now out of style. No one wears it. So they just throw it away and donate it.
Exactly.
And they buy more clothes from Shein and Zara and Forever 21, which does not help our environment. I mean, these clothes are so cheaply made and have such bad fabric qualities and stuff like that.
Yeah, the quantity over the quality is almost astronomical. The sort of the plastic materials, when they get thrown away, the microplastic from these cheap, really crappy fabrics end up in our oceans and essentially kill our turtles.
Yeah, so you may be asking, okay, well, I know that's a problem, so why don't we just, not buy from them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the biggest problem is they're cheap. They're easy. They come quick. So kids want to be, in style, have the latest trends, and places like Shein and Forever 21 have that. And it's good for, people with low economic status.
Yeah, young adults trying to get themselves through school, or people who work really late and just want to come home, kick off their Birkenstocks, lay down on the couch, and be like, hey, I'm going to hop on Shein and get myself a nice sweater.
And it's really cheap. It's not that much money. It won't cut into my rent costs. Stuff like that. And a lot of people, have those clothes to survive. And a lot of sustainably made stuff is expensive because it's sustainably made and not made in, cheap factories. And speaking of factories, these people work in these, 18-hour conditions in these factories and get paid, tiny little pennies. And that's also another problem because we talked about Industrial Revolution and the factory problem and how it's, polluting our earth. And, okay, so the factories and the people who work there are underpaid. I mean, they're just happy that they got employed.
Exactly. And most of these factories are set up in more third world type countries. So, yes, it's a big deal that they're being set up there, but it just feeds into the sort of industrialist culture that is our society.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
And speaking of course, our toxic cultures, this entire episode basically has sort of a bird's eye view on consumerist culture, which is the biggest, I think, issue. in fast fashion is that we just have this need for more and more and more. And we just can't seem to stop for some reason. It just keeps snowballing into, oh, well, it's okay. I can just do this one thing. And then it keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps going.
And everyone has that mindset. It's the type of thing where, like, oh, well, like, I mean, I could help the school or, like, I could raise money for something. But, like, everyone else is probably going to do that. So, like, it's fine if, like, one person like me doesn't do it.
But then if everybody thinks that, then no one ends up doing it, and then your school ends up getting shut down.
And basically, not the school. We're not talking about Riverview. We're talking about the environment. That was an analogy.
Metaphors, people. If you can't understand metaphors, then you might want to get checked out. But is that it?
No, it's not it. There's a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay, fast fashion is this big little rabbit hole that we've gotten into.
Yes.
And you see me in class.
Yes.
I've gotten into.
Yes.
And, I mean, it's a big problem for our world and our places. And, like, Shein and these, like, big brands are, like, billions and billions of dollars in their net worth and their company status. And it's hard to, like, bring those companies down with just two girls in a podcast.
Sitting in their living room on a nice little karaoke night. But the thing is, if you're wondering how you can do this, how you can help us, but you just feel kind of small, and also, if you have a big affinity for fashion like me and Nia, we're little fashion rats, I mean. But one big thing you can do is buy local, buy things that are made in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Research where your things are coming from.
Don't just get what your mom got you. Ask her about it.
Exactly. And if anything, don't
vote her.
Yeah. This might be a little bit of an out there suggestion, but maybe you can even look into making your own clothes. I mean, I've made a skirt before. It's difficult, but you feel more accomplished once you do it, and at least you know where your stuff is coming from.
And at least it's probably more sustainably made.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna break in like 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Because it's so cheaply made. I mean, like, we just need to think about where our clothes come from.
Yes, exactly. Like, and when we're not saying that, if you buy from these places and you're a bad person, because you most likely didn't know where these things are coming from. But we're just saying that if you happen to stumble across our podcast on the dark web, then just give us a listen and go and consider where you're getting your stuff from.
Basically. Mm-hmm. And that concludes comments, questions, and concerns.
It's not technically how I say it, but questions, comments, and concerns.
Okay, wow.
Whatever, okay.
That's what the co-host says.
Okay, whatever. Kids, eat your vegetables, listen to your parents, and research where your clothes are coming from.
Also listen to me. Listen to Nia.
Yeah, whatever. Listen to Nia. This has been our 6th grade podcast. Thank you. Bye.
So we kind of cut it off there, so we just added this part. Bye. Questions, comments, concerns, we love you. Bye.
We're out. Questions, comments, and concerns?
Meow.